Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are in the Buffed Bagration, one of the most recent ships to receive a massive buff from Wargaming. And guys, I don't say this often, but you need to get this ship. Now, I do find it a little bit funny that Wargaming buffs this ship fairly massively and then puts it back in the store available for doubloons. But regardless, spend your money how you wish. This ship is also available for Global XP, which is a free resource. So you do not need to spend any money, just your time grinding that global, and this would be a top pick for me. There's a few other picks, Suzuya, and I probably need to do a video on global XP ships, but right now this is one of my top picks. This ship just received a massive buff to its AP penetration, its grouping, I believe. I will throw up the buffs on the screen, as well as added time to its radar. I also want you guys to note that this game was done before the buff. You guys probably remember this game was captured about a week ago, right before the update, and yeah, it turns out to be a fantastic game showcasing all of the strengths of this ship. Now, I will say I did change the steering gears, which we had in slot 3, to concealment mod, and I did notice a significant, obvious, change in ability to move in position. So that is something you are going to have to think about, but I think the true test of a cruiser captain's talent is positioning. Anybody can hold left stick when you see a battleship and dodge those shells. It takes somebody with a brain to position themselves correctly, and that is what we do for a majority of this match. And right off the rip, we can see that somebody's moved into the cap here in A. So what we're going to do is slowly get around. We are spotted. We're going to go ahead and pop that radar. We pop the hydro to make sure. And that is when we notice that both destroyers, or two destroyers at least, are on this flank. This is one of those very annoying 4-destroyer games. Is it me, or do I feel like we're getting a lot more destroyer-oriented games? But anyway, we are doing our most here. One of the weaknesses of the P-Bag is the kiting angles. You can see that you only get 2 guns at kind of a safe, angled position, as we lose a Fletcher in record time. But that being said, you will have to adjust accordingly. You can get 2 guns on target. As you can kind of see, we're working that second gun, around as this Colorado is asking for a smoke screen. You can tell that the future is looking bright for the Legends player base. And we also have an enemy Colorado who appeared to be shooting HE. Don't you guys wish you could go back to the days of, grinding out the Iowa and that initial grind and playing the Colorado? Man, I used to think that silver and all those resources were, hard to come by. And now I have like 200 million silver or something like that. But anyway, what we're doing is just kind of waiting this out. Our destroyer took a bunch of unnecessary damage, and you can see that we are still spotted. We're going to try and blind fire. Those 2 destroyers are not huge threats to us, but it is a 4-destroyer game, and we have already lost one, and this Colorado is probably not going to be a lot of help. So we are going to have to do a lot to eliminate and help our team with these destroyers. That being said, fully packed would have been a much better option here, but you don't know what you can't load into a game and going to be like, oh, it's going to be a 4-destroyer game, so I'm going to need fully packed. I usually run refill station. Now, fully packed, you could argue is the better choice, but I just like having that DPM. If you're somewhat of a smart player, as these destroyers become detected because they're shooting at our destroyer, and down goes our destroyer, down 2 destroyers in the opening 3 minutes. You gotta love this player base, right? But usually you need DPM more than you need, sometimes, what if you get into a 1-destroyer game? Do you need that extra radar? Yes, it's helpful, but that is my argument for DPM. But what we're doing here is we're actually moving in. We saw that Oysterjotland, yes, I know my grammar police, I know that I pronounce some of these names. Some guy the other day was like, it's Mino, not Mino, or it's Minotaur. I know, but we in America we just say the Mino because it's a minnow. Never mind. That Oysterjotland came around the corner here. He was going full force, and we caught him. Sometimes it's actually better to push into destroyers. Now, we did lose our hydro, and we were staying a little bit broadside. So, unfortunately, we're going to eat 1 torpedo, but it was worth it to get him off of the board. Well, our Colorado got him off of the board. So shout out to our Colorado for shooting at destroyers. And here we could have potentially been in a little bit of hot water. There's a Massachusetts in the middle as well as a Suzuya. There was also that Kagero in front of us, and now we have this Colorado. So you can see me using overview camera to look at that Massachusetts. Why am I doing that? A lot of people ask why I use overview camera almost on every shot like I just did there. And it is for the reason of gaining situational awareness. No, it does not increase accuracy. That is a load of garbage. But when you are able to use overview camera and look around and gain, access to your surroundings, you can see that, oh, this Massachusetts is looking my way, so I need to angle or dodge or sit there and accept my fate. But if you stay zoomed down sights the whole time, you will gain no situational awareness. Now, me being situationally aware can tell you that this Colorado is very new. He didn't shoot AP right through my nose, which he can. Now, we are slightly angled, so we could have potentially bounced those, but with a beautiful torpedo launch, we are going to eliminate that Colorado. So, like I said, if he was a more experienced player, we could have been in a little bit more of a threat, but he wasn't, and we took advantage of that. And that is the game you get. Sometimes you get those teammates, sometimes you get those enemies. That's just how the cookie crumbles in most situations. And recently it's been, my team feels like they've been crumbling more than cookieing, I guess. Here would have been a perfect example of, what we were talking about in terms of positioning and also trying to utilize the AP on a broadside, except all of our battleships are kind of huddled around C. This Mogami relied on his rudder instead of his position to do well, and you will see later on why it is just much better to pay attention to your positioning first and then your maneuverability if you need it. The issue is 3 of our 4 battleships are all huddled up around C with the Colorado being behind us, so this Mogami and Massachusetts are not spotted, also due to our destroyer sitting in a smokescreen right in front of them. Oh man, what I would do to go back and play the Akatsuki for the first time. Why do IJN players do that, man? Smoke up right in front of targets, put themselves... Again, we talk about positioning. That guy missed position trying to get torpedoes off. I feel like players either play battleships or destroyers and not, I feel like cruisers tend to be the least played class and definitely the class played the worst, right? You can always tell when somebody's a good cruiser player. Now, you will get those people that play the Colbert behind islands, 1,000 kilometers away from anything and don't really impact the game. But here we have a situation that I actually remember I said I kind of messed this up. We move into this cap here. We want to get the cap as we are now down all destroyers and down 2-to-1 caps here. And this Kagero, I will have to give him a little bit of credit. I potato a few of these shots, but he is actively dodging, and that is something that will be improved on this ship is the grouping, I believe. Again, I'll throw up the edited stats once again just to make sure I'm correct here. But we actually do get some fellow support fire from that Colorado, but with the 20-second approximate reload or radar duration, we actually miss that Kagero. So I should have been paying a little bit more attention. I should have had my guns, potentially all 3 guns turn, but we did push him out of the cap, and we are capping with the concealment of his smokescreen. You can see, though, our team, however, is still, just kind of floundering around by sea, and that is when our Nagato gets dev struck. So it's not looking good for our team, but as always, in a game that is winnable, as our Poltava goes down, you should always try. So we did manage to secure that cap, and what I'm going to do now, because we are out of consumables. Now, the destroyer doesn't know that, but what we're going to do is try and position ourselves near B here, but also, close to A, so we can kind of keep that destroyer away. We do have 1 Kansas left in the backfield, though, and that guy is actually going to come in fairly clutch during this situation. I also forgot, I think I said Colorado just a second ago, but it actually is a Kansas behind us. I think he spawned in the middle. I think I commented on the game, but him and the other Kansas come in pretty clutch as well. And now is when this Mogami gets to experience the AP from this ship. It was already good, and it will only be better after this buff. Mogami is kind of sit there. I'm not even 100% sure what he's doing, but he decides to accelerate broadside, but it doesn't matter. 6 overpens, 1 citadel there. Probably could have been a little bit more, but it looks like we just got the tail end of his ship. We decide to take another blind fire, and that is when his rudder goes active. Also, we noticed that a battleship over those rocks there did fire at us, so we have to be careful. But utilizing island cover, trying to lob over the island, that is where auto aim is essential. It's also important to note that auto aim is not going to perfectly aim those shots. I always lead a little bit ahead, especially if they're kind of sailing in a straight line. I think sometimes auto aim over islands tends to put the reticle short, which is why we think sometimes that shells land short. But yes, AP on broadside targets, HE. Otherwise, I am running Kuznetsov on this build with Perceptive, or the radio finder. That's that half gray circle. I actually just got a comment on YouTube that somebody said that with the legendary Mons is cheating. So your boy is a cheater here. But we launched the torpedoes. You do get 8-kilometer torpedoes, which is kind of unique for the Russians. Usually it's the 4 kilometers. And there is why you don't sit broadside and rely on your rudder. That guy was just kind of sitting in B there, and Arkansas actually blasted him. So it was pretty important that he did that, actually, because that Mogami was sitting there bow tanking us. We don't have that much. That's just a very slow and boring fight for us. We probably would have won it, but considering there's multiple battleships which can overmatch us, it was helpful that Kansas did crossfire. Again, why positioning is far more important than any of your builds or any RNG factor or anything like that. And you guys can see the position we talked about is pretty good here. We're close to A. We are able to angle away from these ships. Now, we did just get overmatched there, but putting our ship in this position is known as angling for those that don't understand that concept. It puts the dispersion ellipse. The dispersion ellipse is an oval, and it puts yourself or your ship kind of at an angle in that ellipse, so you are not perfectly lined up for those horizontal and or vertical salvos. I know that's going to go over a lot of your heads as we tick the high caliber here, which is a little bit low for this game, but if you guys know, high caliber is based off of the overall damage. It's not one number each match. I bet some people didn't know that. Probably new people, I didn't know that too. This game is very complex. Sometimes it sounds like I'm talking down on you guys, but it's coming from a good place. So I usually just talk down on the people that think they know more, but usually yet, don't perform. It's always like this select few group of, individuals that always just seem to talk over the people actually doing it live on stream every single night. Now, I do make mistakes all the time, and feel free to discuss it. Like some people said, an accuracy build Columbo, which is something I need to try. But we actually get the finishing touch on that Massachusetts, which also helps us get our Confederate medal. So Confederate high caliber, 2 kills, 1 solo cap, 4 defends, and we're not done yet. Now, we do need to push into this cap or get the kill on this Iowa. Why? Because we're down on points. Getting the caps early is very essential, but maintaining that lead, obviously, at the end of the game is the key to winning the game. So far more important to have the points lead at the end of the game. So what is it, that meme? It's like, how did you win that game? Well, so I scored more points. Or, when Max Verstappen was asked, he's like, what's the key to winning the race today? Coming in first. But we guessed that this guy was going to torpedo this gap. It's honestly a pretty good guess considering I was not located. But like I said, I think this destroyer played fairly well. And you can see one of our other battleships did manage a high caliber, and they are whittling down this Iowa. So all we need to do here is make sure we don't die and kind of contest this cap. Just a small little note. I've seen so many players in so many games recently, and I know it's update week. I feel like it's just been so bad recently, which is why I do these videos. I do want to help you guys. I want to help the community. So again, it's not coming from, I'm so much better. Yeah. It's coming from, I kind of know what I'm doing, right? I've done it, for 20,000 battles. I have this experience, and I want to pass it on to you guys. Pay attention to the minimap and pay attention to the points. Now, something that we need to realize right now is we cannot die. So what we're going to do is head straight at these torps. At the very most, we would have taken 1, but your boy is an Ultra Trad, and we'd actually dodge those. It is very hard to hit torpedoes, which is why sometimes we joke that Aaron is bad at torpedoes. I'm actually not, just for the record. Some people think that that's a real thing, but there is the coveted second solo cap in a cruiser nonetheless, which is ironic. It's actually the same cap. We're going to go ahead and throw out the fishnet torpedoes. if you've got torpedoes, and this is why my torpedo accuracy is so low sometimes, we just talking about that, I throw out random guess torps. But what happens if I connect those torps? It's a meme. We all get a good laugh on stream. What happens if I miss? My accuracy goes from 8 to 7%. So who cares? I've said this, and some of the best destroyer players in the game have the same accurate torpedo accuracy as me. If your torpedo accuracy is higher than 10% on destroyers, then you are getting either too close, or you're not throwing out enough zone torpedo hits, or you're just a torpedo god. But this Kagero decides to shoot at the end, so me giving him the thumbs up of affirmation. Like I said, he played moderately well, but he wasn't. I guess there was a chance for him to win that game, but when it's 900 to 100 with 8 ships left and the destroyer player runs, that just aggravates me. But there we can see Aaron coming in top with a 3783. Not that much damage, but again, there was 4 destroyers, 2 kills, 2 caps, 4 defends, a couple torp hits there. Just an overall excellent game showing the versatility and utility of this cruiser. The P-Bag is available in the store. I wouldn't recommend the doubloons. Like I said, I think it's kind of ironic that Wargaming buffs this thing, massively and then puts it back in the store. I'm watching you guys Wargaming, especially after releasing that Z44. Man, what a disappointment. But a huge shout out to my 2 Kansases, my Kansai. Did we ever figure out what we call multiple Kansases? But those guys survived, and this I think this web dog guy actually sent me a message like, "Yo, GG 3700, that's a great score," and it is. But I don't know if you've seen my Pensacola score. But anyway, here's the commander we're running. I recommend a fire build. You can argue beyond range with that build, but I just like having that little extra fire chance. And there we're going over what is going to be buffed. I think this was on either Saturday or Sunday. But guys, that is a look at the P-Bag pre-buff. So you're only getting a better ship now if you decide to get it in the store. And that's the video. A little side note, we were supposed to go to Nashville tomorrow. It is Thursday night, and sorry for no stream tonight. But I don't know if something, that there may be some pause in those plans. So you may see me this weekend, but college football is back, baby, and my Buckeyes are going all the way, so we'll definitely be watching them on Saturday. But I love you guys regardless. If I'm here this weekend, for sure member games. If not, we'll try and get some when we get back. Guys, I'm grinding. I know you guys are as well. I appreciate the views. If you've stayed this long, make sure you're in my Discord. I'll try and link that for you guys. I love you guys. +2 points. All right, I'm out. Peace.